Hey, my name's Dave. I don't know your story, but I want to take a moment to share a bit of my story in the hope that it might encourage you wherever you are at. As a kid, I was raised in a Christian home. We would go to church on Friday, we would go to church on Sunday and hear about this amazing man who gave his life for humanity. But as I got a little older, for me, basketball became a god that I was just pursuing. And so Easter for me, instead of becoming about church and the Christian faith, became about basketball carnivals and chasing after that. And so this idea of who Jesus is, I guess he kind of faded for me. His this belief in my heart as to who he was and what he's done for me grew cold. And as I sort of approached the age of 15, 16, I started to hang around people who were serious about their faith. And as I saw them being serious about their faith, it triggered in me some questions. I saw my mum and dad faithfully following Christ. I saw siblings faithfully following Jesus, friends who were just passionate about this guy called Jesus, and I didn't have that passion in my heart. So I started asking the question why. I started praying again and saying, why, Jesus? I don't understand. What's with this gospel? What's with you? What's with Easter? What's with you dying on a cross and rising again? Why did you have to die? What is this faith all about? Can I trust you? Are you worth following? I'll never forget at the age of 16, right towards the end of my year 11, I'd been asking these questions a lot. And one night I had a dream. And this dream changed my life. And in the dream, I was walking along a beautiful grassy field, kind of a day like this, just walking along. And as I was walking up a hill. And as I walked up this hill, I could hear just wailing, like tears and crying, screaming, just a horrific sound. And I couldn't see anybody, but as I crested the top of the hill and came over, all of a sudden I understood where that wailing was coming from. There was just multitudes and multitudes and multitudes of people littered all across this grassy field. And in my dream, I started to walk down towards the masses, and I found a friend, as is always the case in a dream. And as I started to approach her, I said to her, "What's going on?" And she said to me, "Look up." And in that moment, I lifted my eyes, and there before me was Jesus, this Jesus who I'd been raised to know, hanging on a cross, and hands pinned and feet pinned to the cross. And all these multitude were wailing. They were on their knees crying over this Jesus who was hanging on a cross. And in my dream, I fell to my knees and closed my eyes and started asking that same question that I'd been asking for the last probably couple of years, really, about why. Why? I didn't understand the why. I knew everything there was to know, or so I thought, about this man. I knew all the Christian terminology. I knew the Sunday school stories, but I didn't understand the significance of this moment, this Easter moment. And as I was on my knees and I was saying, why, the next thing I knew, I opened my eyes and I was no longer on the ground, but I was up in the air. And I looked to my left, I looked to my right, and I realized that I was hanging on my own cross. And then I turned again, and that same multitude that had been littered all across the grassy field, as far as the eye could see, there they were, hanging on their own crosses, every single one of them. And I'll never forget, as I was hanging on that cross, I then turned my attention to directly in front of me, and there was Jesus, standing right in front of me, tears streaming down his face. And he looked me straight in the eye, and he said to me, "This is why." And in that moment, I woke up. And as I woke up, I had an old song in my head, and the verse in particular that says, "I'll rise from waters deep into the saving arms of God. I'll sing salvation songs because Jesus Christ has set me free." From that moment on, my life took a different turn. Something resonated within me that Easter is about freedom. Easter is about what Jesus has done. It's not a religious thing, it's a relational thing, that our God would come to us, that we could be set free from the brokenness of this world, the brokenness of sin which leads to destruction, and actually impart his life to us. Whom the Son sets free, they are free indeed. And that dream changed my life. And so from that moment on, I just set my gaze to him and thought, this is a man that I'm going to follow. All of a sudden, stuff started to resonate. I started to read the word. I started to pray, I started to just be enamored with this Jesus. So maybe as we approach this Easter, maybe that resonates with you. Maybe that's your story too. Maybe you grew up in the church and for you, you've heard all the stories, but Jesus has in some way kind of lost his meaning. If that's you, I want to encourage you and invite you to come back to the cross and look up and see him for who he is and what he's done. This great God who would pursue humanity even unto death that we might know life. If that's you, I want to invite you to come and be a part of this Easter season and hear a message of hope. And maybe you've never heard about Jesus. Maybe you're seeing this and this is the first time you've sort of encountered this Jesus character. Can I encourage you, he's worth investigating. If there's anything I've learned in my life, he is worth investigating. Ask questions. The Bible says, seek and you'll find, ask and you shall receive, knock on the door will be open to you. So if you're looking for a place where you might just encounter this Jesus, why don't you join us this Easter? We'd love to have you. We'd love for you to encounter the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords, whose heart is that you would know true love and truly walk in freedom.